Who can find a virtuous woman? For her price is far above rubies. In Proverbs chapter 31, King Lemuel shares with us some of the qualities of a virtuous woman. Those qualities are trustworthy, resourceful, hardworking, creative, giving, wise, and she fears the Lord. These are but a few of the qualities as described in the Word of God. I do have a virtuous woman in my life, and I would like to take a few minutes to share her with you. This person is my mother. My mother has always been a very loving and faithful person. For 37 years, my mother held my father's heart. My parents' loving marriage was not without its hills and valleys, but the Lord blessed them to be married until my father passed away in 2010. I remember when my dad became terminally ill with cancer. I watched my mom lovingly and sacrificially take care of him in their home until his death. Now it's 5 years later. My mother is happily remarried to a wonderful man. She also takes care of her mother and father in their home, and she also takes care of my father's mother. My mother inspires me every day to be a more giving and selfless person to other people. Many years ago, when I was a child, I remember when times were tough just how resourceful and creative my mom could be. The Lord blessed us to never have to do without, or if we did, I didn't know it. My mom would always take her talents and skills and she would use them to the glory of God. One creation that to this day I'm in awe of was some dolls she would make. She would take these dolls and put them together with her hands. She would create hand-painted faces on them. She would also put on hair made of yarn. These dolls were beautiful, and she would sell them to help our family and to help to provide for us. Then I vividly remember my teenage summers. My brothers and I simply loved and to go on family excursions to places like Six Flags or Stone Mountain over Georgia. But when times were tight, my mom never said no. Instead, she said, "Hey, let's go buy some Krispy Kreme donuts by the trunk full, and let's go sell them business to business in order to raise money to have these extracurricular activities." My mom made such an impression on me with her hardworking and wise ways. Now, as I'm an adult, I'd like to tell you what I admire most of my mom. My mom desires above all else to love the Lord her God with all of her heart and soul. One of my favorite things to do when visiting my mom is we start the day off on her front porch with all the family gathered around in the Word of God. What a blessed way to start the day. My mom is also very dedicated to prayer to the Lord. I know that if ever I need to call my mom for some advice, she's quick to encourage me to pray for wisdom. She also will stop what she's doing at the time and pray with me. And then sometimes she'll even continue to pray for me when I don't even know it. My desire is to be more like my mom because she desires to be more like Christ. In closing, I want to share a passage with you from the Word of God. This passage describes my mom better than anyone else ever could. This comes from Proverbs chapter 31, verses 10 through 31. Who can find a virtuous woman? For her price is far above rubies. The heart of her husband does safely trust in her, so that he shall have no need of spoil. She will do him good and not evil all the days of her life. She seeketh wool and flax, and worketh willingly with her hands. She is like the merchant ships, she bringeth her food from afar. She riseth also while it is yet night, and giveth meat to her household, and a portion to her maidens. She considereth a field, and buyeth it, and with the fruit of her hands she planteth a vineyard. She perceiveth that her merchandise is good, and her candle goeth not out by night. She layeth her hands to the spindle, and her hands hold the distaff. She stretcheth out her hand to the poor, yea, and she reacheth forth her hands to the needy. She is not afraid of the snow for her household, for all her household are clothed with scarlet. She maketh herself coverings of tapestry, her clothing is silken purple. Her husband is known in the gates, when he sitteth among the elders of the land. She maketh fine linen and selleth it, and she delivereth girdles unto the merchant. Strength and honor are her clothing, and she shall rejoice in time to come. She openeth her mouth with wisdom, and in her tongue is the law of kindness. She looketh well to the ways of her household, and eateth not the bread of idleness. Her children arise up and call her blessed, her husband also, and he praiseth her. Many daughters have done virtuously, but thou excellest them all. Favor is deceitful, and beauty is vain, but a woman that feareth the Lord, she shall be praised. Give her of the fruit of her hands, and let her own works praise her in the gates.